event. People, I mean, they go straight there to look to see how many pages they're on. We need to have a good index so that we know that we're getting everybody in the book more than one time. We really need to be trying to do that. You can put theme-related content. You can put pictures in the index. You can put all sorts of elements in the index, graphic elements that go with your theme. You can do that. Okay, so this is just an example. Somebody that, you know, added a little something to theirs to make it a little more interesting. The index is kind of boring, but they made it a little more interesting and kind of did that. Even put like a photo and a quote back there just to kind of spice it up a little. I like how they did this index. I think it's nice. There's a lot of stuff going on back there. It's not boring at all. It has the word, you know, what it's supposed to have, and they have the drop letter there, but then they also put their team stats in there. They put the team photo that everybody hates anyway, and you go like, oh, look, there I am, you know, I mean, like, where do you put that? What a great place to put a club or a team photo, you know, because it's there, it's back there. They even did their photo credits back here, which I thought was kind of interesting. Instead of putting them on the photo, they actually did their photo credits all in the back, starting with page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and with the size book we have, we could do something like that. But, you know, will people go back there and look, you know, that's just something to think about. And then autograph space, we don't have to worry about that as much in college. Nobody's really signing our yearbooks, so that's not anything we have to have, but it is something that when we were talking about, you know, judging and when they consider, did they fill their space so much that there's nowhere for the students to really personalize and make it their own? And so that's more of what that's about. What I like is that they have some open spacing here. They did a nice job with their table of contents. They didn't fill it up. They gave it, you know, some nice white space, and then they used their type style really well here and have a good organization with that. So that looks pretty good. And then they gave people just a place to sign, but still found a way to get photos and information there as well. Okay, that's the last one on that one. Let's go to, is that helpful? Yes. All right. Let's go to something else I pulled for you guys. Like I said, I'm skipping, picking and choosing some of the things that I wanted you guys to see.
I drove in at 9, I drove from Project at 10:30, got here, went to Walmart, finished my business for the party, and then went home, changed clothes, got food, and then about 30 minutes I could leave.
You have to leave in like 30 minutes?
Yeah, I have Emily's
Oh, yeah.
So,
You have what?
Emily's leisure party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good.
I forgot that was today.
It's not. I'm going to touch on design. She started you guys with some basic design this morning. What I want to do is kind of take you from, I'm not sure what all she covered, so, but I'm going to take you from some basic design and then stepping that up into making them modules. And so just kind of seeing the process and how that works. I think this is a really, it's a little basic, but it also kind of walks, especially those of you that are kind of new and still learning how all this goes, but it walks you through stepping it up and making that design look better. So I want you to kind of see how that works, okay? One of the things that we need to be doing is establishing columns when we're designing, okay? And so you can actually do that within Monarch, within InDesign. You can create columns on your page. That gives you a consistent look. It gives you some, it's easy to do your spacing when you do that. And so you want everything to fall within the column and not stop in the middle of the column. So let me show you how that works. So for this next one, there's a 12-column grid, and the columns are going to be spaced 1 pica apart. So it's like this, if you take your page, and you can set that up in InDesign and turn on columns. The more columns you have, the more flexibility you have. So the idea is you would say all captions are going to be 3 columns wide, and that's how they're going to be. And then you keep it consistent that way, and you always know that they're within the columns, and then you have that 1 pica spacing between everything, okay? And you can also, so basically if you have a 12-column grid, that's what it's showing. You have more versatility. You can make some modules or elements fill the whole grid, or you could split it into 2 and create modules that fill up 6 columns or fewer. Notice if you just do a 6-column grid, you don't have as much flexibility with how many columns you can take up, okay? So when you're designing, you definitely want to try to do that. You can do it with rows across, and you can do it with your columns. So one of the steps when you guys are designing your templates, you need to figure out how many columns you want to use. And like I said, the more the better, because you have some flexibility. But 8, 10, 12, somewhere in that is probably where I would stay. Says here, the most powerful storytelling images make the best dominant photo. That's just obvious, but when you first start with so you've got your left and your right hand side, the middle of the spread is called the gutter. And so you place your dominant photo, and it is supposed to be 2.5 times larger than any other photo or module on the page to be a real dominant. Some people just stick something on there, and if the next photo closest to it is kind of similar, then you're competing against your dominant. So you place a photo on the spread. I like to have it off center like it is here, just so that you have it's just hard sometimes to have that one photo square in the middle, because you're going to end up with somebody right in the middle of that. And so it's nice to have the action more, on one side or the other. So this is showing that was more of a horizontal dominant. This is showing a vertical dominant and how you would place that. So when you're creating your templates, create a template that has a horizontal dominant and one that has a vertical dominant, and then that way you have some variety. Okay.
All of ours were horizontal.
Yeah, and it makes it hard because sometimes it's like, oh, I wish we could use that picture. So now create additional templates. Don't feel boxed in where you have to do it with one template. You can create a flipped version of it and have a horizontal and a vertical. There's one that has it square in the middle. I don't like it, but you'll see kind of how they fill it in where it actually could work. But it reminds me of when we saw the synchronized swimming with the, right, whatever they were doing with the on that magazine ad, so it kind of reminds me of that. Allow the dominant photo to guide and place the eye line. The eye line is it's invisible, but your reader, it kind of helps your reader follow along through there. And so once you get your dominant place, that's going to set the eye line. So the top of it, the bottom of it, wherever it's going to fall, I would never put your eye line straight to half the page. That makes it really hard for your reader, and it's just not it kind of breaks up your page and you don't know that it's all tied in together. Right, so that's what that's talking about. Like I said, I'm skipping through a few things because I want you to I think you get the point, and you don't need to see it 59 times to understand it, college students. So now, once you do, you'll go in, and after you place your dominant photo, you place your story package, which is your main story on the page. Notice here they use the columns, okay? So they're using the columns to get in this, but it looks like they're not using the columns here, but they are, because look at that drop cap C. See how the C touches that column, and then the story ends right here. So they kept everything within columns, and then they did a cutout area here where they wrapped the text and placed that, and notice that element takes up 2 columns. Okay, everything fits within the columns. It doesn't randomly just stop in the middle of a column. So you can turn the columns on Monarch when you're doing on InDesign, and then you can make everything, all your dominant elements fit. You just draw boxes at first to kind of make sure that's going to work. Then they add in the headline. The headline and story should be together. Some people want to make the headline over here and the story over here. The headline is about the story, not really about the spread usually. It should be about the story. Yeah, you don't know what that means? It's like Latin, which means nothing. Secondary photos are going to be placed, and you want to make sure that you have a variety of size and shape when you place your other photos around. Not box, 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 paste, 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 the same exact thing. Don't do that. We need to have some variety. So notice how they achieve that here. See the variety of shape and size and how that makes it so much more interesting. But look, everything fits in the columns. They stop and start on the columns, and when they do that, they have consistent spacing between everything. You don't have to do it where it's one pica. You can do half picas. You can do 2 picas. You could, as long as you're consistent between the modules. You can, this right here could be one photo, but the next time you could pull in a group of photos here, and I'll show you kind of how that works. All right, so then they added that photo strip or that ticker, okay? They added that to it so you could kind of see another way to do it. But this could have nothing to do with that whole spread. You kind of see what I'm saying? It just may be its own thing. But like I said, if it does, it needs to be its own thing throughout the whole book. Not sometimes it's about that spread and sometimes it's not. All right? You like what? Like that? Yeah. To me, that is an easy way to understand how to build your spread. Start with your dominant. That creates an eye line. Then put your story package in your headlines. then add in the other photos to see kind of what you're gonna be able to do. And then I love that it creates this rail of space. So then it's like I have a whole new thing going on down here.
I really like
And so, you like that? Yeah, it's for you took a picture, right?
Yeah, I did.
All right. So it says here, let's do the math. That is kind of a traditional design. It's still nice. It's a really nice design, but it's a traditional design, and we're going to take it and step it up into a more competitive, competition-worthy yearbook design, okay? So it looks nice, very clean. They fill their space, but there's enough white space in there that it doesn't feel overfilled, okay? Feel overfilled, that was not even, I don't even know what that was. All right, so that was 12 photos and 19 faces. The thing about traditional design, when you have the bigger photos that kind of take up space, and we kind of do traditional design, we try to pull in modular, but we're still really doing traditional. The thing is you don't get as many people. And so what you have to learn to do is sometimes where there's one photo, you create a module of photos that fit that same spot, the same width of columns that you need. And sometimes for certain events, you might be able to pull that module in and get 3 or 4 people in there instead of just one, okay? So watch what they're gonna do here. So it says 19 faces, is that enough coverage? Well, it's 19, it's not bad, but can we do more? Absolutely we could do more because there were more people at that event, more people doing that. So this is a mod makeover, taking that same design and going in and making it over. So you take this area and create, you almost, instead of like your photo box here, you could create some templates that just have gray boxes and then print out those templates and then measure how many picas that takes up and create modules that take up that many picas and fit in that spot. You can create those as click and goes. Do you remember seeing that at all? And you can pull over those click and goes, just drag them and say, okay, well on this, here's my basic template with my boxes. I'm gonna pull over this for this one because we have a ton of pictures. But for this one, we don't really, so I'm gonna make that one photo, but your template can stay the same. Does that sort of make any sense? Okay. Stop me if it doesn't. You can just tell me to hush. So watch what they do. That's awesome. It still follows the rules and has a dominant element. Instead of being a dominant photo, it's a dominant element. It's a dominant element. Okay, so we have to get that word dominant photo kind of out of our minds. It's not always what it needs to be. It's a dominant element for the page. But look how many more people are going to look at that. There's that one photo. They still used it, but they found a way to really make that page a lot more interesting to a lot more people. Okay, I'm going to show you how else they changed it. Number 2, so let's look at see what it looked like before. So originally, remember there were 2 captions here. That's because it was one caption for this photo and one caption for that photo. Well, they didn't need it anymore because the captions were within that area, right? Now you have to be careful. If this dark space was white, it would almost look like trapped copy in the middle, but because they colored that in, you know that that's all part of this box. And so it's a little bit of breaking the traditional rules of sticking words in the middle of the page, but it fits that dominant element, so it's actually okay. A little more magazine look. But they only needed one caption when they did that. So that module takes up that area of space. Notice they kept an eye line right through here. So there's number 2. Another way to do that. So you see what I'm talking about there? You can actually create these click and goes, these modules to pull in. You don't have to change the whole, people want to like say, well, I need 47 templates. No, you really don't. You really, you know what I mean? Like you only need a few templates, but you need several modules, maybe 3 modules to fit in the same spot. 3 modules to fit in the same spot for another area. Okay, so watch number 3. So that's the story over there, and then they have the little photo treatment. Okay, so number 3 area. Now, I don't really like this and that. I think that's too much and it's competing, but what it's showing you is maybe that event didn't have a story, there's just nothing we can say about it, and it needs to have more pictures and captions. It's another way to do it. I think those elements are competing, but it's just me. All right, so then you do the math. So it was, 20 photos plus 8, 38 faces plus the 19 that were there before. They never took, they kept the photos that were there and added to them. And so now, look at how many different people are going to pay attention to this page, how many different people are going to like this page and really spend time on it and like the yearbook even more because they're featured even more. And we're just talking about 2 pages. So mix and match. So it talks about alternative variations that we can use. So look how they flipped it. I love that you can do that. I love that you can do that, but like you don't think about that sometimes. sometimes, but they did not all of a sudden go, okay, new blank page, now I draw a box, now I draw a box. No, they just flipped what they already had, kept the same columns. They just said, oh, what if we take that here, push everything down, and flip the script a little bit. But everything still, they didn't have to start over and start drawing new boxes.
Yeah, last year we had one template for each like section, and then we just took it and rotated everything.
Yeah.
So
and
then
just
we
kinda
ended up
made it all
having
go
4
around.
templates,
Yeah.
but they were all from the same thing.
Yeah, which works. But this way, and I think we still do those things. I think that was a good plan. But now I think we step it up, and instead of having the one photo, one caption, it's a module, or we create 3 modules for that spot. You know what I mean? And then use columns. I think we need to be using the columns. All right. So this is just showing you how to flip it, change it, adjust it. This time it's a dominant one big photo, because that you just may have that one awesome shot, or you may just have one shot and that's all you get. And so you still make it work. You can still make your template work for the area, but maybe you just have 4 pictures and that's how you have to use it. Okay? So coverage is key. So this is just showing examples of yearbooks that have used modular design. Again, it's like what I told you earlier, within the modules, small, tight spacing, and then between the modules, the bigger rails of space. Kind of magazine-like, but people are gonna spend time on this.
Yeah.
They're gonna look at it. And I like that. See how that works? Create the modules. That could sometimes be one photo with a caption out next to it. But here, they decided to make it kind of a little mini story with a couple of photos and a little mini headline. Same thing here. It could have been one photo. The hard part is that kind of competes with this photo. But it could be multiple photos and captions, but they decided to create almost a little mini story. So you could have things, like I said, things on campus that don't really deserve 2 pages because you just can't really cover it that way. Find a way to make things common and create a new spread that's about, like I said, practices, and you have several different sports that you're featuring, or it's about something that's common in some way, shape, or form. And then, it could even just say fall events. And you could just put several things that happened in the fall, fall events, and not have to give, if it was a huge event, homecoming, you have to give them, the pages. But if it's just, well, these people did this, and these people went to that, and we had this on campus, you could just feature several different things, okay? Same thing, just putting in modules. Notice they have this little module over here. So that could also have been a photo strip, big photos going down, but they did the cutouts for that. Oh, this is an interesting way to do a module too. So you would create even a smaller one, but they stayed within their columns here, and then they skipped a column for that, just to offset it, a little different. And then they have that big rail of white space to offset their story. Again, module here, there, and then separated it out. A little close together for me. There's a lot going on. Again, module. A little close together for me. I just think you need that separation to if you're gonna, unless it's all about the same thing. And this is about cheers, so maybe it's okay to not have as much separation. But that's a little bit bigger separation than maybe, I feel like they cut their page in half, but this is about that, so I don't know if they, should have handled it quite that way. But it works for them. I love this graphic on the side because it's subtle. And so it's a good way to tie in their graphic, but it's not overdone. It's not too big. It's not taking up too much room. Okay. I like how they did their folio. It's subtle. It's at the top. They did something with the X. I don't know what that was part of. But then they also have, that's not their folio. They did 2. They did the description at the top, and then they did their page number and pictures down here. The hard part about that is it really locks you in when you do that. Okay? Interesting type treatment here when they pull that in. Coming down to the copy. Notice that rail of white space we were talking about here, where they put that in. You have to be careful that the gutter doesn't fall right in the middle, and I think she doesn't. It's probably more like this right here. But then you have the big empty space you have to watch out for. I love how the modules are split up on this. And I love the color treatment here, how they pulled the subtle color into parts of it. They took that color out of the photo. They took the red out of a shirt or out of that table, and then they added it. hearts. And then this is something, instead of doing the ticker across the page, they did this all the way throughout their entire yearbook. It's just quotes. See, that's the same yearbook, different section. So it looks a little bit different. But you can still tell it's the same yearbook. Because it has some consistency with the captions and all kind of ties it together that way. Again, with the modules, you see how trendy that is? You see that's how so many people are doing that now? So again, they go ahead and lay out their modules, have the rails of white space in between. Again. I like how they've done that. There's that strip again, done in a different way. Is that helpful? Awesome. I have another little show we're gonna do. We're not quite to 150, so we'll pull that out.
Right.
Real quick. But I will skip through this quite a lot. I just want to
Those might work better.
Those are all,
That's what they,
Okay. Yeah, go use your.
and that'll lead us into our main discussion, okay? Okay, so theme is also called concept. Every yearbook has to have a theme. It needs to have a concept, a personality of the book for the year, okay? And so I'm going to show you some. So basically, a lot of people, where theme came from. No, you're okay. No, just like where theme actually came from is from branding and marketing and people having a theme for their brand or their marketing. You do not, there's going to be a lot of words across here and you do not have to type all that. It's because I'm going to skip through a lot of this so that we can talk about our theme. But what you've got to remember, it's about capturing the character of a brand. It's capturing the character of your school when you're talking about the yearbook, okay? And so theme is all about capturing the character of the people and the character of your school. I'm skipping through several different things here. So we're going to look at a brand, Hang 10. Have you ever heard of that brand before? This little feet logo, have you ever seen that before? So it's a brand. It started originally, there was a surfer that said founded in 1960. But it was just basically surfboards and things like that. But it moved into, this guy basically took his logo and put it on board shorts. And then it just evolved into this crazy industry. It's now like on kids' clothes at Kohl's. Like, it's crazy. Like Hang 10 is just, it's a brand that's just evolved into so many different things. But when they were actually hiring a company to develop their brand and develop the marketing and create a theme, they had to brainstorm, what are we about? What is Hang 10 about? What is our company about? What do we think of when we do this? So it says here, what is the story that they needed to tell about Hang 10? So they put that they want to be more than board shorts. They want to do more with that. All season, a California lifestyle. So they brainstormed, what are we about? We're about being comfortable, we're about outdoors, we're about active, established. What kind of tone do we want to set? Happy, upbeat, fun, sporty. What you think about with California lifestyle and surfing and all of that, you think of these words, right? So they brainstormed these words. And then they came up and said, okay, the phrase that seems to do that is the good life. You know, fun, upbeat, happy, California living, you know, the good life. So they created a theme for that particular brand out of those words, out of thinking, well, what does that make you